Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. Game over.
All right, so I guess this is a bargain bin check-in. We've been on a hiatus, unfortunately, because of technology and having to find a new recording service. We took a step back, and then unbeknownst to us, real life situations kind of got in the way and extended our hiatus. So all we're doing here is just kind of chatting a little bit about what we've been watching as a way to just kind of keep people informed that we are still around. We are still going to come back. It's not an issue between us or with the show. It's all completely unrelated. And I mean, we miss it, but we'll get back as soon as we can. So in the meantime, Ben, you just wanted to talk about some stuff you've been watching?
I would like to start off by saying I was paid to be here today.
By who?
By you. Thank you.
I don't have any money to pay you.
What? All right. Things between us are fine. No animosity whatsoever. Hush money. No. Life has been pretty crazy lately. Everything that could go not wrong, but askew did. But on the way to writing things. And somehow, amidst all of life's issues, I still find myself watching way too much television and way too many movies. And yeah, I really miss talking about things. We recorded an episode that we are going to redo, and I had a lot of fun doing it the first time, and I'm going to have even more fun doing it the second time. But there's so much stuff that we've both been watching that I feel like we just need to talk about. And I think some people might get a few chuckles out of it, so why not reconnect when we have the time and do that? I would like to start off by asking you about X-Men 97. Because...
But you want to start with that?
Yeah, because I've only seen, I think, maybe 2 or 3 episodes of the original show, and I know that you were worried about it. I know you've watched it, and I'm pretty sure you love it. So what about it? Like, why should I watch it? Did you actually love it? If you did, what did they get right? What did they get wrong?
Okay, so yeah, I was worried about it. We talked about it in depth before it came out. Recently, Disney has been kind of dropping the ball with the Marvel license for a lot of the stuff. Movies, shows, you name it. And as a child growing up, I loved the X-Men animated series. Like, it was one of the flagships for me as a kid. So I was worried, like, are they going to mess it up like they always do? And honestly, it's probably the best Marvel product I've seen in decades.
That's insane.
The care that was put into this show is insane. The throwbacks, the respect for the original IP. Like, I love the first 5 seasons of the X-Men. And I don't know if it's fair to call this season 6 because it is technically X-Men 97. So it's season 1 of that. And it's technically season 6.5 because they did a comic book run that was continuing the storyline of season 5 from the original show. And this is like a half pivot from that. But this is my favorite season of the X-Men animated series if you do clump them all together as one thing.
That's crazy. Why? Like, what makes it stand out this much?
Honestly, it's the writing. There's definitely been improvements in the animation, right? They did a very, very great job making it look like the original. But the leaps in the technology of things like fight scenes, for example, the choreography for it is amazing. First episode, they have Cyclops doing a fight scene where after 5 seasons of thinking, I don't like Cyclops, he's the goody leader, this and that. And I never really considered him like a badass. They have one fight scene in the first episode where I'm like, okay, he's awesome. Because they were able to animate the battle so well, where he's like utilizing his powers in unique ways. He uses like his optic blast to dodge an attack. Something I would never consider. I don't think I've ever seen in any comic books. And it flows so well. And it's fast paced. It's action. It gets you pumped for it. And then just the storylines. There's so much heart to them. And I'm not going to lie. Episode 5, Remember Me, like I cried. Like, it got me so bad. It's just so good.
I don't think I've ever watched a show where I remember the episode titles. You nerd.
Okay. Well, even Beyond
No, that's
Me,
good, though.
even Beyond Me, that episode was, I think they said, the highest rated episode of any TV show, like individual episode on IMDb. It was like at a 9.4.
Okay.
It only held that title for like a week or two before the last episode of Bluey came out. And I'm not going to lie, that one made me cry too. But it is not just like an X-Men fan like me. Like, the general consensus has been that it's been amazing. And if you're a fan and you watch that episode, you'll know why I remember the title of the episode. I don't remember the title of a lot of the episodes, but there's a reason that I remember that one, and I'm not going to get into any sort of spoilers to go over that.
Can I start watching the show without having watched the previous seasons?
Yes. There will be a lot more that you'll get from cameos, appearances, nods to it, but they essentially start a fresh storyline, and any of the pertinent pieces, like season 5 ends with Xavier going out into outer space with the Shi'ar Empire to essentially cure him. And they kind of explain that to you. So when this show starts and Xavier is absent, you get that vital information. You don't get all of the things that led up to it, but like, they give you the concrete baseline information that you need to enjoy the storylines of this one. But if you come into it having watched the other ones, you will get a lot more out of it.
That actually sounds a lot better than I thought it would be. They did some pretty good planning for that. Next question about it, though. How much Gambit do we get? Because if we don't get a lot of Gambit, I'm out.
No comment.
God damn it. All right, I will give it a shot. I will. What else have you been watching?
Well, let's further drive the point home that there's no animosity or drama between you and I, and talk about the movie that I watched when I was on my way to come see you in Halifax recently. And that's
yes.
Boy Kills World.
Fantastic. Okay, good. I've also watched this since you went back to Ontario, and I saw the trailer and wrote this off pretty much immediately. It looked like a lot of fun, but something that I was going to forget very easily. Let's start off with your thoughts.
So I watch a lot of things as a second monitor viewing, right? Kind of half pay attention while I'm doing other things. I grabbed this movie based on the runtime for what I would watch on the airplane on the way to come see you. And that was absolutely the best thing I could have done, because this is a movie that requires your full attention. And part of it is because of the way that they handle like the auditory cues. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler that Bill Skarsgård's character in it, he's a deaf mute, right? So there is a lot of stuff that you need to see, right? You can't just half watch this. And they reward you for that, because some of the stuff, like the fight scenes, are brutal, but also so well done. I think aside from the final fight that did have a little bit of maybe gore that was a little excessive for me, you know, I got a little bit of a twinge in my stomach watching some of it. All the rest was so tastefully done, but still over the top. Like, it gives you a visual spectacle. And they couple it perfectly with the humor in the movie that is sprinkled in just enough places to keep it a little bit light, but without killing the pacing in favor of it.
It was a fantastic film. Bill Skarsgård did a great job.
He's in amazing shape for that movie too. I don't know if he's normally like, he is not an action star in my mind. You know, I think other things, like, you know, maybe things that involve like killers and clowns and stuff, but not like this jacked action star. And like, that fades away in a minute. I'm like, this guy clearly committed to doing an action movie and got his body in the right shape, and just, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a mystery to me, man, because I, of course, know him as Pennywise, but then he was also in that Castle Rock Stephen King show, which I never really got into, but I've heard some very interesting things, good and bad. And then I saw him in Barbarian, and he completely caught me off guard with just how well he could work in like a weird thriller mystery. His acting is fantastic. It was really his role was very misleading, to the point where like I felt like I was going to detest this character, and then I grew to love him very, very quickly. And then all of a sudden he shows up and he is jacked. Like he must have been doing something else. And then they're like, well, he's in great shape. Let's just put him into this weird dystopian future sci-fi action comedy and not have him say a word. And he killed it. He was so good.
And I think that heightens my level of respect for him in this film because, yes, they give him a voice that's not his.
Yes.
But there are a lot of times where it is reliant on his facial expressions for responding to different things that are happening. And I didn't realize the level of physical acting that this guy could do. And it just blew me away.
It's unfair how good that family is at acting. Because you've got Alexander Skarsgård, right? Did you ever watch True Blood?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay. Infinity Pool? No, you wouldn't have watched that. He's great. The Northman? Did you see that?
No, that's the thing.
All right, moving on. Their father, Stellan Skarsgård, you probably don't know him by name, but you know him when you see a picture of him. He's been in every movie that's been ever made, pretty much. H. John Benjamin as the voice for the character. It worked really well for me at first. And yeah, I love the dialogue. I love the lines that were written. It's like a joke that's told too many times that it just kind of wore off after a while for me. But then I was thinking, really? yeah. And not to take anything away from him, like he was great. But I don't think I could come up with a better option. Like he is the over the top, like video game narrator kind of VO voice.
Will Arnett.
Perfect. And we will get to him too, because there's something else Will Arnett did that I really want to talk about. But honestly, like it was just so over the top for too long. Then I was thinking, who could have done maybe not as impactful, but a more prolonged, enjoyable VO? Scott Adkins.
Oh, we'll talk about Scott Adkins, my friend.
Okay, well, let's jump from Boy Kills World. First and foremost, recommend? Yes.
No. I want to read my tweet on it, because as people who follow us on social media know, when I watch a movie that's not for our show, I put out a tweet, but there's also one part of it that I think you're going to latch onto as well.
Okay, go for it.
Unexpectedly blown away by how good it was. Bill Skarsgård was a beast and can really deliver through just visuals. Brett Gelman was brilliant. I'm not sure if that's the pronunciation. Great humor and action. Finale was a bit bloody for my taste, so obviously I would recommend it. But I thought you would want to bring up Brett Gelman. Is it Gelman?
I don't know who that is.
He plays the brother from The Family. He's in Stranger Things.
The brother from The Family?
He's the brother in from The Family in the movie.
The kid?
He writes the speech. No, the adult.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Jesus. All right. The brother of the antagonist. Okay. Sorry, you said family.
Well,
I was
one
thinking
family we're talking about.
I guess, yeah. He was He was one of my favorite parts. I didn't know his name, unfortunately. Yeah, he reminds me so much of my friend Jason, who is the host of oh God, I almost forgot the name of the
Hey,
podcast.
Did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? Yeah. And that I highly recommend checking out that show because every episode is hilarious. But yeah, he is a slightly balding version of Jason. And oh my God, this guy, his comedy is spot on. Every time I see him on screen, I smile. But he's one of those actors where like you see him and you're happy, but you don't really know who he is. He by far, he's my favorite character in this film.
I don't think I'm ever going to not be able to see that now. I was just watching an episode of Hey, Did You See This One when they were covering Clueless?
Yeah.
And I can totally see it now. By the way, a show I've never been asked to be on, by the way.
I'll give it to, I'll recommend it. It's so much fun.
I'm never going to not see that one now. So, let's pivot. You had mentioned Scott Adkins. I have tweets on 2 Scott Adkins movies I've watched since we posted our last episode.
I think this is the most influence I've ever had on you is recommending Accident Man.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten carried away with Scott Adkins movies now. Like, not just since we did our last episode, I'd have to go back, but like I've been going on. I watched Castle Fall, Max Power. I can't even remember all of them. I keep watching them, but I watched 2 since we did our last episode. And surprisingly, one of them is, not counting Accident Man, but probably my favorite Scott Adkins movie I've watched now. And the other one is probably my least favorite Scott Adkins movie I've watched.
Okay,
now.
I'm curious because I think he's fantastic, but he is in everything, mainly minor roles. So when you give him the time to shine, I think he does great. So let's start off with the least favorite. I find that surprising.
So it's a movie from 2019 called Abduction, and he is a main character. I'm watching mostly movies where he's a leading role. I'm not really watching supporting roles. I might get into that later. To start off with my tweet, one of the weaker stories, but Scott Adkins is great as always, minus the stammering. Andy On, who is some sort of martial artist, I'm not too familiar with his work, but he was very impressive. And the special effects left a lot to be desired. So this movie is called Abduction. It's Scott Adkins' daughter gets kidnapped by like otherworldly beings, and he gets spit out into modern day society. And you don't know if that's where he's normally from or if he's back there. And he's kind of like his memory has been wiped. He's trying to figure out why he's where he is. He's got this stammering issue, which is probably the worst idea they've had because he doesn't do it well, which pains me to say about anything Scott Adkins does. And Andy On ends up playing like almost like a contract hitman kind of person who is turned to the good side. There's a lot of I can't talk about without spoilers, and I'm trying to avoid it for the duration of this conversation. But he ends up being kind of like the teammate. They do like the buddy cop thing where they actually go and investigate, and they find out that there are these other beings that have kind of like invaded their space. And Scott Adkins is from Earth, but when he got pulled into their world, time moved at a different pace, and he needs to get back there to save his daughter. They're essentially using humans as like a power source. It's not great. Like it really is.
Sounds amazing.
I can't even say that. It sounds amazing, and I can see why on paper they would want to make it, but like it gets really convoluted. There's only maybe 2 fight scenes that I thought were really, really good. Primarily the one when he gets back to the other world and he fights some of the followers, because they all have these like chips on the back of their neck that have them like regular people doing the bidding of the villains. Okay. I don't know if they ever got like a name, but it's a different race of. They look like the like bald, pale humans from Fringe. If you ever watch that, like September and the other guys.
Yeah, this sounds a lot like Dark City to me. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
But it's not. It's not good. The writing fails it a lot. And there's so many instances of watching that movie where you'll stop and pull a Sandro where you're like rewriting this a million different ways that would have made it better. But it happens so often that you're just like, it's the writing that let them all down more than anything, because this needed a better direction. And there are parts where it's like just too convoluted for its own sake. Like so many times you just want to be like, keep it simple, stupid. Like this is just, you're doing too much. You got a great premise here. Just let it be this rescue mission and don't get too far into it. But I mean, I watched it for free on Tubi and anybody else can check it out there. So it's not like you're going to be out much if you check it out. And it was one of the shorter ones too. So all in all, I was disappointed.
I honestly think we should do an episode where we just take movies we're disappointed with and rewrite them, because you have amazing ideas.
No, I don't even want to revisit this one. It's a Scott Adkins movie. I don't want to revisit.
That says a lot. What was your favorite one? So
the title of the movie is a little off. Like Tubi has a different title than is on IMDb. I went with the IMDb title of El Gringo.
Okay.
On Tubi, it was listed as Bullet, but there's another Bullet on IMDb that's a completely different movie. So I'm just going to stick to the title El Gringo, but if after what I say you want to look it up on Tubi, you got to look up Bullet. So my tweet is a great way to start this. I continue my journey down the Scott Adkins rabbit hole with El Gringo, probably my favorite one behind the Accident Man films. As always, fantastic action and comedy. Christian Slater isn't in it a lot, but he's perfect when he is. A-.
Okay. That sounds pretty promising.
I should point out that I gave Abduction a C+. So it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's the worst Scott Adkins thing I've seen. So El Gringo is an interesting one. There's these random flash cuts in the movie that I think are the only thing that really hold it down. Like literally the singular thing that I would take away is these random flash cuts to different things trying to be artsy about what's going on. But Scott Adkins is this character who's walking into I don't know what you would call it, just like a small town. He's looking for Acapulco, but he ends up in a small backwater town. I can't remember what it's called, with a duffel bag that has like millions of dollars in it. And there's like a local, there's a local gang that is trying to get him out of town. They don't know he has the money, but that's like one of the spins is later on when they find out. Because at first the other gang is just like, we don't want you here. We don't want outsiders. They're trying to, it's a corrupt town. Obviously the police are working with the gang. And they're just like, we want you out of here. You're an outsider. You're going to get in the way, whatever. And then when they find out he has millions of dollars, it definitely changes the dynamic. And his whole thing is like, he doesn't want to be bothered by anyone. He doesn't want to bother anyone. He's walking through like the desert areas. He goes into town just looking to get water, and like no one will serve him. No one will talk to him. They're like, get out of town. And he's just like, okay, well, how? Right? They're like, oh, there's a bus. And then like they're rude to him when he's trying to get like a bus ticket and stuff like that. It's like, do you want him out or not? Right? Like if you want him out, help him get to the bus. Give him a glass of water. But it ends up that there's a number of twists that I can't get into. I can, but I don't want to. Mm-hmm. There's a twist with who he is. There's a twist with who the villain is. And just all in all, it is phenomenal. I actually want to give a shout out to the female lead as well, but I can't remember her name off the top of my head, and I didn't have it in my tweet.
No, so it's El Gringo.
El Gringo is what it's listed as. 2012 movie. It is on Tubi to watch for free, but on Tubi it's listed as Bullet for some reason.
Okay, I 100% am going to watch this because it sounds amazing.
Oh, I definitely recommend it. And the only person that like kind of helps him is like this local bar owner. Her name is Anna in the movie. Her real name is Yvette Yates Reddick. She is phenomenal in it.
Unfamiliar.
And I'm not too familiar with her work either. She's gorgeous, as you can expect. But I definitely recommend this movie. And like I said, beyond Accident Man, absolute favorite Scott Adkins property now.
Okay, well, I'm completely sold. We love Scott Adkins here. I think it's safe to say. Anybody who hasn't really given this man a chance, do it, because you owe it to yourself. You really
the
do.
British Ryan Reynolds.
You know what? I think I'm starting to like him more than I like Ryan Reynolds. And I love Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it's like making me choose between my children's. I can't do it.
You only have one.
I think I said this to you before, and I'm going to say it again. I would love to see like an adult Parent Trap movie, like an action movie, but two people that are separated at birth. One is Ryan Reynolds who gets shipped off to Canada. One is Scott Adkins who gets to Britain. And then as adults, they try to get back together, but it's like a buddy cop action movie.
Okay, I would 100% be in for that. But when you started that off, it made me just think of twins.
Well, yeah, but these are way too similar. This is not a twin situation. Hey, you know what? It would not be fair. Which one's Julian?
Definitely.
Exactly.
It'd have to be Scott Adkins. I think Ryan Reynolds is too filthy to not be. DeVito's character.
I'm just thinking physical properties because,
they are very handsome men.
So that's the full list of movies that I had. Like, oh, actually, there is one more that we talked about, but maybe we should talk about something else you've been watching before we get to that.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of films and a few TV shows. I recently watched Abigail. Have you seen this?
I've not even heard of Abigail.
Horror film, horror comedy. Let's just. I want to bring up the cast here. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now because it's.
I got it.
Okay. What are you gonna do with it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you want to ask who's in it or something. I don't know.
No, it was one of my favorite actors. And you still haven't seen The Guest, right?
No.
No, okay. It came out years and years ago. Please watch that movie. It's so good. But The Guest stars Dan Stevens, another British actor. And he's in this movie, too, playing the role of Frank. And he is so good in this movie. But the IMDb plot synopsis says, after a group of criminals kidnap the ballerina daughter of a powerful underworld figure, they retreat to an isolated mansion, unaware that they're locked inside with no normal little girl. Now, the trailer gives everything away, which sucks because in the movie, you don't get that reveal until over an hour into it. But they kidnapped a child.
You do that?
They kidnapped a child vampire. And they're locked in this mansion with her now. And it starts off feeling like a really good drama, horror thriller, and then turns into a weird horror comedy. I've talked to a few people about it, and they really didn't like the shift in tone. But for me, it worked just as well as From Dusk Till Dawn worked, and where you start off with a crime film and then you get a horror film. It's abrupt, sure, but when written properly, it can work. And I feel like this movie really worked. The special effects I thought were really good. There's a big controversy about AI use in it, which I guess they used a couple of times, kind of like in the new Furiosa film. But I thought it was a lot of fun. And honestly, I would watch it just for Dan Stevens' performance. Giancarlo Esposito, who a lot of people know as Gus from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, is in it briefly, but he does a great job. It's just a really fun, refreshing horror film, which we've desperately needed because I've found, like, while we're getting a lot of horror movies lately, they're all pretty stale. Like, I recently just watched The First Omen on Disney Plus, and I thought it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I fell asleep 3 times and woke up and went back and rewatched the parts that I missed and fell asleep again. Like it's not good. So if you're curious about The Omen, like I love the Omen movies, but you watch the first Omen, you're going to want to forget it immediately. Civil War. Have you heard about Civil War?
I've heard of it. Justin was talking about it the other day, but I haven't actually seen the movie, or I don't even think I've seen a trailer of it.
I think it was written and directed by Alex Garland. Garland wrote The Beach, which the book I really enjoyed, but I hated the film because they completely omitted my favorite character from the book. But he also wrote 28 Days Later and had written and directed Ex Machina, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And I was really excited for this. And while it looks good, the actors do a very good job, and the story is interesting, there is no payoff. It goes nowhere, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the editing. There's something missing. It's like the movie has everything you would ever want except a soul. I haven't encountered something like this in a very long time, and honestly, I recommend watching it so people can get back to me and tell me what happened, how they're feeling about it.
Wasn't it like a really long one?
It's not crazy long. Let me just look up the runtime here. The weird thing is, like, Kirsten Dunst does a great job, but it's missing something, and I'm not sure what it is. It's an hour and 50 minutes long, hour 49. On IMDb, it's sitting at a 7.2. And it just says, a journey across a dystopian future America following a team of military-embedded journalists as they race against time to reach D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. And it delivers on everything it promises, which should be fantastic, but I don't know. The whole thing just feels really empty to me. Garland saying that's his last directing he's ever going to do. And I feel really bad about that because he's done some great stuff. So I don't know if it's pressure from studios or reviews, but like, it's just, I don't know. It's like playing a really unfulfilling video game that you were super excited for. It's like if I saw Mad Max Fury Road in theaters 8 times. And it's all because I got so worked up over the trailer. It's one of my favorite film trailers of all time. And it would be like if the trailer was 100 times better than the movie. And honestly, I've watched the trailer for a movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow, directed by Panos Cosmatos, who did Mandy. I've seen that trailer so many times. I think it's absolutely amazing, but it's made me terrified to watch the movie because I don't think the movie could be anywhere as entertaining as that trailer is. And I kind of wish I just watched the trailer for Civil War. And I know you're not going to now because I've shit on this so bad, but I really want you to watch Civil War. And I'm curious to see if you feel the same way I do, or if I just missed something altogether. I don't know what the message of the film was. I feel like it doesn't deliver. It's probably my biggest disappointment of the year so far.
Yeah, the day that I'm excited or want to watch a movie with Kirsten Dunst in it is the day that I've given up on movies. So I don't think I'm going to watch it, man.
Let's talk about something a little bit more fun, though. TV shows based off of video games.
Okay.
Because I watched both Fallout and Twisted Metal.
Okay. I mean, I can contribute to Twisted Metal because I've seen that in the past.
Yeah.
I have one video game show as well that I can chime in with after, but why don't you start off?
Okay, we'll go with Fallout because I'm assuming you haven't seen that.
Not yet. It's on my list. I've got it like queued in my favorites of things to watch.
Okay.
But I haven't started it yet.
I love everything about it. Everything. The writing, the casting, The cinematography, the story is phenomenal. The humor is what got me. I did not expect it to be nearly as funny as it is. And it is the exact same level of humor as we found in Twisted Metal, which is the other show I want to talk about. So we won't get into Fallout. I really want to hear your opinion on it. But Twisted Metal, Sandro, your opinion.
I thought you were just going to say, like, Fallout. I loved everything about it. Review done.
It's great. I thought there were 10 episodes. So I got to the end of episode 8 and I was like, holy shit, let's go. 2 more. No, that was the end of it.
Oh, man. So I'm possibly going to be disappointed by the end because there isn't more?
That's a good thing, though, man, because you want to be left wanting more. And like that show gave me everything I never knew I wanted, to the point where I was disappointed that they had to end the season because I just wanted more and more and more. Everybody in it is great. Walton Goggins, man.
Oh, how can you not love him?
He's never done a bad role ever. As soon as you sign him onto a production, I'm going to love it.
Wasn't he in the next Karate Kid?
I haven't seen the next Karate Kid. But if he is, that movie's amazing.
What's the one with Hilary Swank?
The next Karate Kid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he plays one of the school thugs in that movie.
There's no way he was young enough to play a school thug in that movie.
Maybe I'm thinking of it. No, yeah, he was Charlie in the movie. Yeah, he was one of the school thugs in that movie. Yep.
Wasn't he like 25?
He looks like he's 40.
Yeah. He always looks the same age.
We're product of the man.
Yeah.
You remember watching movies like we've seen so many movies where that people look so much older. They get adult actors to play teenagers.
I guess, yeah.
I was going to bring up an example, and I forgot the name of the movie, but it was Nick in Tough Turf.
Yes. Oh, that guy looked like he was 40 and in high school.
Exactly. You just kind of got to accept that stuff now.
The first time I saw Walton Goggins was in House of a Thousand Corpses, and that came out in 2003. He looks the exact same now, somehow. Like, he is a ghoul. Like, he doesn't age anymore.
But he's so good.
Amazing.
Like, he is so good.
Like, even in Justified, I love Timothy Olyphant. He's one of my favorite actors ever. But every time he's on screen, I'm just like, we need more Walton Goggins on camera right now. But Boyd Crowder is another phenomenal character. I'm actually going through that show again just because how good those two are, especially in scenes together. But yeah, dude, watch Fallout. I really, really want to hear your thoughts. So if you say it's on your list, but bump it up. Bump it up a bit.
It's just tough, okay? And I'm working on it.
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal, though. I very much enjoyed Twisted Metal. Like, I went into that one thinking, okay, I'm going to have some campy fun. I do love the fact that the people that created it also had that thought and just leaned into it. Like, let's just be ridiculous. Let's just be over the top and have fun. The very first episode, you got Anthony Mackie driving through the mall. Mm-hmm. And when the car spins and he grabs the pair of like Nikes, I think they are, and like everything stops to make the joke about that, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm in for. And honestly, it delivered. Like Sweet Tooth was fantastic in it. The I forget the name of the character. The episode with Jason Mantzoukas.
The preacher character of the Holy Men.
Yeah. Like everybody that was in that movie, no matter how small or how big, was fantastic. The movie is it's fun. Like, don't go into it expecting anything deep. It is just a lot of action, a lot of humor, and just a lot of fun.
I never really liked Mackie that much until I saw this show, and I think he's phenomenal now. Samoa Joe as Sweet Tooth embodied the character.
Yeah, but with the voice of Will Arnett.
Will Arnett nailed it. But yeah, Jason Mantzoukas, holy shit, man. Every scene he was in that one episode, I was glued to it. His performance is amazing. And god damn, like, watching How Did This Get Made, or listening to How Did This Get Made, he was always funny. He's always funny. But watching him on screen with that same charisma is captivating. I was surprised at how much I loved Twisted Metal.
I don't think I've seen anything that he's done that was bad. I loved him in The League. I actually just recently finished Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I didn't have that written down, but he had a small role in that. His appearances in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him where I wasn't excited to see him and that he didn't do a great job.
He's great all around. Great. I feel like we covered Twisted Metal very, very quickly. But is there anything else you want to say about it before we move on?
Honestly, like, you can't really dive too deep into Twisted Metal. Like, once you watch it, you know that shallow representation of it that's how deep the show is. Mm-hmm. But like, it's not trying to be something that it's not. Like, you go, like, that's a popcorn show. You go into it, you just have a blast, you shut your brain off, and you have some fun. And like, honestly, I think if there was ever a situation where we had to go in and like critically assess the episodes, it would be awful because there isn't depth there, but it doesn't need to have it. It's not trying to do something, like, it's not trying to reinvent the wheel.
I love post-apocalyptic content, and it gave me everything I want. So it's fun that we're talking Twisted Metal and Fallout because that's my genre. In a completely different direction, something I know you haven't watched, and I don't think you will, but I absolutely loved and highly recommended is Shogun.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah.
Probably won't, but
I'm not going to go into it because it would just be a one-sided conversation. But anybody who has an interest in feudal Japan, watch this show. It is absolutely amazing. It is a remake of a series from, I want to say 1980, but based off a book by James Clavell or Clavel, however you want to pronounce it. It is so good, and it was so well received that the studio has been in talks with the author's family to access his works and his notes to produce another 2 seasons of the show. Absolutely amazing. I can't get enough of it. I can't wait for more. I actually went out and bought the book. My dad had it. It was one of his favorite novels ever written, to the point where he had read it so many times that it fell apart. Like, there are pages missing. It didn't have a cover. He loved it that much. And now I totally understand. If the book has anything even close to what I watched on the show, it's going to be one of my favorites too. Do you want to bring up something, or do you want me to bring out another topic?
Well, you had mentioned 2 video game shows, and I said that I had one as well.
Yes.
And it was, I watched the first episode of Knuckles.
Okay. I know nothing of this other than it's a character in a Sonic game.
Yeah, and like, I'd actually watched both of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies and enjoyed both of them. I thought that they were like just fun family movies. They didn't do anything amazing, but they didn't lack in any department. Like, this is something that I talked about with the boys from Pixel Opinions, because I think we actually reviewed the first one back when we still did movie reviews on Pixel Opinions. And it's like, they're fun movies. They were pretty respectful of the IP. And then they were making a show off of it. Like, they introduced Knuckles, voiced by Idris Elba, in the second movie. And he was a villain who turned into a good guy, just like in the video games. And honestly, after the first episode, I had no desire to watch the rest of Knuckles. Like, it's not like it was bad, but Knuckles as a character is kind of one of those fish out of water characters, right? They come in from their world into ours, and Sonic is kind of optimistic, doesn't really know what's going on, but he's assimilating himself. And then Knuckles is that one who's just like, I want things to be the way they are back home. And Adam Pally is the human lead. I'm not sure about the pronunciation. He was fantastic in the TV show Happy Endings. So the two of them almost are like an odd couple, right? Because he's like the doofus sheriff in the movies, or not sheriff, deputy, sidekick. And in this, him and Knuckles go on a journey, and like it just didn't grip me. Like it's not poorly done, but I watched it and I'm like, I don't care.
So is it done in the style of the movies, like live action and CG?
Yeah, live action. And in the first episode, they actually had Sonic and Tails come in and play characters, or play their character. Their CGI characters, obviously, they're going to be the same ones. And those were the best parts of it, right? Like they didn't get James Marsden back, but they had the same actress who played his wife. But as soon as like Knuckles and Adam Pally's character go out on the road on their own, I'm just like, I don't care anymore, right? I just don't.
Yeah.
So
that's disappointing.
Not as disappointing as the first episode of Clone High that I watched.
Oh God, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that.
So I loved the one season of Clone High that we had in the past. Not a show that you could do today.
No, one of the best shows ever made, though.
A fantastic show, but not a show you could do today. And they've actually done 2 seasons now since the revival.
Really?
I didn't even finish the first episode before I turned it off.
Go on.
So they shit on the show entirely. There's like one funny joke where they kind of play off the fact that it's been like 20 years and they were frozen and they get caught up to date. But like Gandhi's just gone, probably because he would have been the most inappropriate character to have today. Mm-hmm. Abe is clearly not the main character anymore. That's now Joan, but it's just not good. Like everything you knew about Clone High is just gone. The characters are the same, minus Gandhi, and then they introduced a few new ones. But like, it sucked. I was bored. It wasn't funny. It wasn't entertaining. I just didn't even make it through one whole episode. I turned it off. I'm like, nope. Mm-mm. And then I went online and looked up some reviews, and that seems to be the sentiment. Most of the people that were commenting on it were like, love the show. They butchered this. They just killed it.
I think we were both really excited to hear that it was coming back without actually thinking about the fact that you have to let that show die, because everything that we loved about that show is now incredibly controversial. I don't know what that says about us, but that show is still funny if you go back and watch it. And
I'm not going to pretend like I didn't laugh every time I watched it back in the day. I know that it's inappropriate. I watch things like Drawn Together.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think there's a time and place. If you know that some of these things, while inappropriate, are just jokes, like, what's wrong with that?
Go back and watch Van Wilder or try and watch American Pie.
Go watch Meatballs. Like, these are just...
Yeah. Revenge of the Nerds. Oh, my God. There's so much that we hold dear in nostalgia that when you go back and revisit it, you're like, holy shit. It's time to
well, and that's just it. Like you hit the nail on the head. Clone High, the things that made it good are the things that you can't do today. So just just ignore its existence and go back and watch the first season and never acknowledge anything else.
Yeah, and never admit that you went back, rewatched it, and found it funny still. Because you'll be.
So I got 2 more. How many you got?
I have 1 movie and 1 show.
Oh, that's what I got too.
Okay. Well, let's do movies first.
Okay.
I want to go first on this one because I want to talk about Ready or Not. I don't know if you've seen this film. It's from 2019.
I've seen the YTV live action show from when we were kids, the Canadian one. Is that what you're talking about?
Nope, not even close.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
No, okay.
A bride's wedding night takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in-laws force her to take part in a terrifying game. Horror comedy. Amazing. I've watched it twice in the last 3 weeks. It is absolutely hilarious. It is very well acted. It stars Samara Weaving, who I loved in The Babysitter. The one actor that really caught me off guard, and I was very happy with his performance, was Adam Brody from The OC. And I guess, why am I forgetting the name of this movie now? Megan Fox.
Shazam.
Cheerleader.
No.
Jennifer's Body.
Was it Jennifer's Body?
Yes.
I haven't even seen it and I got the name. Come on.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good too. But he was phenomenal in it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's in the same vein as Army of Darkness in that it has a serious storyline, but the comedy is just sewn throughout it. It's fantastic. I forget who the directors were. It wasn't just one person. Matt
I love my assessment. My assessments are I liked it. You're like, who's the director? Who's the... Oh, it's based on a book. It's like, I'm not bringing any of this to the table.
It was Matt Bettinelli, Olpen, and Tyler Gillett. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what else they do. But Samara Weaving, man, absolutely amazing. Henry Czerny as the father, the patriarch of the family, was so good. The whole family is so twisted and broken in the most comedic way possible because it's really, really dark. I'll get into it this way. There is a family tradition, and this is a family who have made a massive fortune off of board games. So whenever one of the family marries, the night of the wedding, the bride or groom, whoever is marrying into the family, has to play a game with the family. And there's this card shuffling contraption. Every card is a different game. And there is one game on the card called hide and seek. And that is the most dangerous card you can draw. Because everything else is just like your standard games like tag and like board games and whatnot. But hide and seek, it's like a blank kind of card. Basically, the family hunts you and has to murder you. It's almost like a sacrifice. And they bring in this crazy satanic ritual element. And yeah, Samara Weaving marries into this family, draws that card, has no idea what's going on, and then it's an entire night of survival. But
I think I saw part of that.
It's absolutely hilarious. And it shouldn't be. Like it's written so well. And again, another high recommend.
I think Liz was watching it the other day, and I saw a part of it. But like, I think it was a while ago. I might have been like getting ready to go out or something, so I watched like a few scenes. Mm-hmm. But like once you started describing it, it seemed a little familiar. I know I haven't seen the whole thing though.
Please do. I think you would really enjoy it.
Yeah, but I don't think Amanda or Busy are going to show up. So.
What's your movie?
We talked about this actually fairly extensively the other day on the phone. It was the new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yes.
It's actually the lowest rated movie that I have on my list of things that I compiled for when we agreed to do this. So I'll just start with my tweet again. Sadly, I was disappointed and bored. So little happens for so long a runtime. I think it's about an hour and 54. An uninspired villain, and they ruined Phoebe by making her the dumbest smart person ever. The throwbacks were fun, I guess. C-.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, and I was telling you, the last one that they did, Afterlife, was surprisingly good to me. Like, I really enjoyed the first two. I'm one of the rare people that liked the all-female one, but I've accepted the fact that it is something different entirely. Like, they call it Ghostbusters, but even the original actors are in it playing different cameos. And if you go into it not expecting Ghostbusters 3, which I think is what a lot of people thought when they saw this female-led Ghostbusters movie, you can actually have some fun with it. Like, it leans a lot more into the comedy aspect, because I thought that the first two Ghostbusters were always like paranormal comedies. And then like they tried to stick to a bit more mystery and paranormal activity and almost like a whodunit type thing, because they're trying to uncover stuff. And they just lean a lot more into the comedy, and it's okay. So when Afterlife was announced, I was like, okay, well, what are we going to get here? They did a beautiful job introducing Ghostbusters 3 in Afterlife. Continuing the storyline canon, perfectly used cameos of the original characters. That, like, Afterlife is a high recommendation by me, especially if you're a Ghostbusters fan. And you can easily watch it with the first two, like 1, 2, 3, even though it takes place so far after. Like, it's all supposed to be Spangler's grandchildren that are finding his old stuff. It works. Frozen Empire feels like it's just a cash-in attempt on the success of Afterlife. They have both the cast, the new and the old, playing more prominent roles, but like, it feels very paint by numbers, and like, honestly, I was just bored. And like, if you haven't watched Afterlife, Phoebe is the like youngest granddaughter of Spangler, and she's like a prodigy, like a child genius, right? She does a lot of their tech and stuff, even though she's the youngest character. And in this, I guess the attempt is to try and show like a juxtaposition between her intelligence from like an intellectual standpoint and her emotional intelligence, which is what gets her in trouble. But they don't do a good job of it, and she's just dumb in the movie, right? Like, you could think like, okay. So at the beginning of the movie, she almost gets like expelled from the Ghostbusters because they have like a bad occurrence. I mean, this happens in the Ghostbusters. The society turns on them until they need them. And you could be like, oh, well, if she's being pushed away, maybe she makes some dumb mistakes or whatever. But like, she gets so much support from her family that you're just like, there's no reason for you to be this dumb. And it kills the tone of the movie. The main villain, it's only like his influence the whole time, and he only really shows up at the end. And then it was one of the worst character designs I've seen in a long time for a supernatural villain. Don't. Just stop after. Like, if you've only seen the first two, watch Afterlife and stop. Afterlife ends in a beautiful way that you could then call it the end of a trilogy and be done with it. 4 is just awful.
Christ. All right. I've only seen
prepared for that.
I've only seen the first two. I did not like the second one, and I never went back to it. I would say that the first movie is probably one of the best horror comedies ever made, because it is scary at times, quite scary.
Yeah, and there's some nice throwbacks in the fourth movie, but it's like they're clearly just trying to cash in. Like, at one point they go to the library and they see the library ghost from the first one, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool, but like, that one snippet does not make up for 2 hours of boredom. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And I would say you could probably skip the all-female Ghostbusters. I don't know if it would necessarily be your cup of tea if you went into it with the mindset that it's not Ghostbusters. Like, if they called it something else, I don't think it would have been as critically panned, and you could probably have fun with it. And I would recommend Afterlife, but I would not recommend Frozen Empire.
Okay. Did you play the video game that came out that everyone was touting as Ghostbusters 3 like years and years ago? Like, we're talking well over 10 years ago. And did that feel like a decent follow-up to the first two? No? Interesting.
No, it was a good game. I played it on PS3, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a fun game. But it almost felt like a 2.5. Like it almost felt like, because there was a lot of similar jokes playing off of what we saw in the first two movies. It didn't feel like you were getting a lot of fresh material to call it like a Ghostbusters 3.
Okay.
It was all right. Like, it was a good video game, but I don't think I could say, oh, it was like canonly like the story of a Ghostbusters 3. No, it was just like a parallel adventure that you could even say, oh, this took place around the time of those movies, and it's just another adventure with like a rookie Ghostbuster that's interacting with the other one. It's a good game, but it's not, storyline wise, it's not something that you're gonna carry with you canonically at all.
Okay, so I'll stick to Afterlife then.
It's a fine game, just not for the story, right?
Yeah, it's just the whole thing, like the legacy of Ghostbusters now just feels like too much of an endeavor for me, based off of how much I didn't really like the second one, but I love the first one so much. So it's much more of a positive review of one of the films than I expected, so I probably will check it out, but it's good to know to just not even bother with the most recent. No,
to me, the canon is 1, 2, and Afterlife.
Okay, good. I can do that.
In my mind, that's what it is. So,
TV shows. I am only 4 episodes into this show now, but it came out like 5 years ago. No, more than that. 7 years ago. It's called Damnation. IMDb has the synopsis as an epic saga about the secret history of the 1930s American heartland, centering on the mythic conflict and bloody struggle between big money and the downtrodden. Anybody who has seen the movie Lawless will love this show. It is very much a period piece. We're confronted with farmers on strike because they're being priced out of their properties, and big money is coming in and just trying to buy up the town. I think it's set in Harlan, Kentucky, going back to Justified. But you've got the farmers who are striking. You've got a new preacher in town who you find out very quickly is not actually a preacher, and he's there to really just rile them up and start a war, basically. Then you've got people coming in presenting themselves as Pinkertons to uphold the law, like private security almost. But even then, they don't really act as you would expect them to, and you start wondering if they really are who they say they are. But the reason why I'm so enthralled with this, there is one actor in particular who is carrying the show for me, and it is Logan Marshall Green, again, showing up. We talked about how much we loved him in Upgrade. He is equally good in the show. The show only has 1 season. I think it's 10 episodes, but I'm 4 in, and as soon as we're done recording, I'm probably going to throw another one on. I can't get enough of this show. It's filmed so well. It is period perfect. The sheriff, I forget the actor's name, but I'm pretty sure he played the character of the Swede in, oh my God, Hell on Wheels, which is another Western show. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I feel really bad that it only got 1 season. I'm hoping they wrap up the story. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but the drama is phenomenal. It's starting to get very violent and very tense. So I'm excited to finish it. And so far, a third of the way through, highly recommended.
I really like Logan Marshall Green. I've only seen him in a couple of things. Of course, Upgrade, which was phenomenal. And people should check out our review of that movie if they haven't. The other thing I saw him in was a video game called Telling Lies, yes, which was also really entertaining. Mm-hmm. I can't talk about that game. I just can't. It's it's one of those games where like you interact with things and then you get like pieces of video clips of what happened, and you kind of almost have to put them together yourself because you can get them in different orders and things like that. And there's no way to talk about that without spoiling it, and also not fully understanding what the hell happened myself. But like, he's phenomenal in it because it's like the video clips that you get follow 4 characters, and you can try and figure out their relation and the events. But like, he's phenomenal in that, right? Because his part of the video game was they gave him a script and had him act it, and then they just chopped it into bits and put it into all of the things that you see.
Yeah.
But he's really good. I feel like he needs to get more. Like, he has a small cameo. I think it was Spider-Man Homecoming. You can see him, but like, it's a blink and you missed him kind of thing, right? But he's really good. He deserves to be on more people's radars.
Yeah, he was in the OC as well for a season as, I think, one of the lead's brothers. But I mean, he was in Devil, the Shyamalan produced movie.
Oh,
yeah,
that's the one in the elevator, right?
Yeah, he was in that.
That was a good movie, but I think I watched that before I knew who he was, so I didn't really acknowledge him.
His next movie after that was Prometheus, the Alien film.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
No, that's fine. Don't. It's not great.
No.
But he was in the show Quarry, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But yeah, did Quarry, then Sandcastle, then that small role in Homecoming, and then Damnation, then followed up Damnation with Upgrade. So I love this actor. He's one of my favorites, and I will watch anything he's in. The Invitation, I believe, was a movie he did. I'm looking up now. When did that come out? Unless I'm completely wrong here. Nope. The Invitation, 2015. Played the character of Will. Again, a movie that I kind of just shrugged off because it didn't seem interesting. I didn't know anybody in it. But then after becoming a fan of his, I looked up his filmography and saw he was in that. So I watched it, and again, blown away by his performance. It was a really good movie. So yeah, Damnation. I'm super excited to finish it, but I also don't want to because I know there's only a few more episodes left. So what's your show?
So I actually just finished a show this morning. It was the 5-episode miniseries Echo from Marvel that I just watched. And I gotta say, second best Marvel property I've seen in years.
What is Echo?
So in Daredevil and Hawkeye, there is a villain that is a female villain. I don't know what she goes by in those movies, but maybe they call her Echo. She's like a deaf mute character.
Okay.
That's like a martial artist. And this is like a 5-part miniseries. That's her own kind of solo thing where she was essentially a villain who worked for Wilson Fisk in those other properties, and then finds out that he has been manipulating her and using her, and she's now trying to break away from him. And I think part of the reason why this show is so good is because it relies heavily on her and the character of Wilson Fisk. It's pretty much the two of them. I should really get the actress's name because she does a good job, and it would be very rude to not.
It sounds pretty good.
Aliquay? Aliquay Cox? I'm not sure how you pronounce the first name, but she is really, really good. She's playing another one of those characters similar to what we saw with Bill Skarsgård, where she's like this menacing physical force and then has to do a lot of acting with her facial expressions. There's a lot of sign language, so like subtitle reading as well, but she does a phenomenal job. And then I don't know if there are many castings that are as well done as Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk.
I mean, you put him in any role and he's going to do a great job.
He is phenomenal. Like, he is absolutely phenomenal. I find that with Marvel, I really enjoy the shows that focus on characters that aren't so super powered, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you think of the Netflix run, I love Daredevil, I love the Punisher, but they're not the ones that have like the massive superpowers like a Luke Cage or, you know, like the runs that they did with like Iron Fist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Echo is a similar thing. She does have a few powers that you kind of learn about in the end, but the majority of it is guns and martial arts. And in those situations, they do have to play up a lot more on the storyline and the human element, the emotional side of it. And like, it's a quick watch. Like, I think the longest episode is maybe 50 minutes and the shortest one's like 34. And it's only 5 episodes, but I really enjoyed it. Minus the ending was a little flat. It does have an ending where you're just like, you could easily continue in multiple different directions with some of these characters and do like a second season, or, you know, because they do these things where it's like, okay, she was a minor character villain in Hawkeye, and now she's the main character of this, where they can play off of it and do other things. But good quick watch, and another example of when Marvel is hitting, like, they really can knock it out of the park, but then there's just some absolute blind swings and misses. So I am one of those people where, like, I'm committed, so I'm still watching like every Marvel property I get. I haven't given up on them, but it's been a lot more misses than hits lately. So I think watching this after watching X-Men 97 and having what I would consider 2 back-to-back wins from Marvel is just kind of like refreshing and almost like rejuvenating towards my faith in their abilities. Marvel, or X-Men 97 is a million times better still, but like, this is just like a decent follow-up show to watch after and still think, okay, there's some people in this company that know what they're doing.
So with X-Men 97 and then Echo, and then we already know that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be a massive hit. Is Marvel back? Because they hit a pretty bad slump.
I'll never say that, simply because they pump out so many that you can have a run of 3 hits, but then you can have a run of 5 misses. And this isn't like pre-End War era where the miss was a rarity. Like,
yeah,
at best, you can say lately they've been 50-50, and it's, no, they're not back. I still don't believe in that, but okay, we'll see, right?
I'm very curious because they did very well at using five massive films as advertisements for another, and they made so much money, and then it's just been disappointment after disappointment. So I'm very curious to see where they go from here. Anything coming up that you're excited to see?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, not just Marvel related, but film in general, or TV in general.
But honestly, in general, like, I am excited for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
like,
me
even
too.
even if I didn't have X-Men 97 and Echo to be like, hey, couple of good ones back to back, and it was just still riding off of the terrible ones that came before it, like the Doctor Strange sequel and stuff like that. The Deadpool movies were both great. It's got Ryan Reynolds. I have loved Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Like, this is a movie I would have been excited for regardless of the context.
Okay.
So that is one that I'm looking forward to going and watching.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that, and I really do want to watch Furiosa. I'm hearing very mixed reviews, but I hear it's not the action film that Fury Road was, and that's fine by me. Apparently, this one is much more focused on world building, and I'm very interested in that too, because that's what we really got out of the Mad Max game, and I thought that was fantastic. So, fingers crossed, Furiosa is enjoyable. But yeah, those are my 2 big want to sees coming up.
Okay, so I think we've covered enough stuff here that we can kind of call it. Before I close off, I am going to do a bit of a plug. Because we've been on hiatus, I've been putting a little bit more time into my other channel, which, for those who don't know, I do a video game channel, youtube.com/pixelopinions, with my friends Josh and Alex. They're both great guys. And we do have other writers that help us out. I think since we left, we've put out reviews for Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, the Rogue Prince of Persia, MLB The Show, Stellar Blade. We've had podcasts. So check that out. Keeping me busy for a little bit. And then in regards to the bargain bin, might as well just take a minute to address this. Again, we don't know how long our official hiatus will last. And it is just because of the time and dedication it takes to prepare for an episode. It's not just sit down in front of a camera and go. Like, we do actually do work for our official episodes.
Yeah.
So once we have the time to dedicate to that again, we will be back. We will be back with our episode on Dragon Ball as we promised. In the meantime, if you're checking in with us on this, whatever you want to call it, check-in, let us know what you think. Maybe this is something we can kind of revisit. I don't know if people would semi-regularly like to hear us just kind of off the cuff talk about things that we're watching that are maybe more modern, that are not episodes we cover for the show. Maybe even throw in questions or comments you guys have about things you've been watching or things you want to know about that we maybe watched in the past. Give us feedback. Maybe we don't do this as a one-time thing. Maybe we do. Who knows?
Yeah. This is incredibly freeform, and I really enjoy it. Yeah, the episodes, like Sandro said, they do take a fair amount of time to prep for. So we just wanted to get together and chat about things we've watched. Let everyone know that we are still here and we will be back in a more regular form. But we just wanted to touch base and have some fun, shoot the shit, and just talk about recently watched stuff. But yeah, if this does work for everyone too, this takes no prep time. We're just talking about stuff that we've covered in our own personal time. And yeah, put in questions, submit questions, comments, anything, and we'll talk about them freely here too. Like, I think that would be a lot of fun.
It doesn't necessarily have to be movie related. If you want to know a little bit more about us, like we've worked in video game stores, bookstores, record stores. You want to ask us about music and literature and whatever, just get to know us a little bit better. Let us know if this is something you want to see us do. Maybe even like, we'll think about it, but we'll just kind of base it on feedback.
People definitely want to know more about us. I'm a very interesting human being, Sandro.
No, I'm not.
I know. That's why they're going to be all questions for me.
All right. So until the next time we return in some form, have a good one.
All the best.